The Great Hall of the Galactic Assembly was the largest room Laura had ever seen. It stretched upward for what seemed like forever, with pillars made of glowing crystal and floating platforms where alien beings sat watching her. She could feel thousands of eyes on her body, some of them not even shaped like eyes at all. Some species had stalks, others had glowing patches of skin, and a few had no visible eyes but somehow still made her feel watched. Laura was 52 years old. She had spent 30 years of her life preparing for this single moment. She had learned 14 alien languages. She had studied the customs and histories of more than 100 species. She had shaken hands with beings made of gas and shared meals with creatures that ate rocks. All of it had led her here, to this podium at the center of the universe's most powerful gathering. Behind her in the observation gallery, Captain Daniel Hayes stood with his arms crossed. He was her military escort, a man who had fought in 3 different conflicts across Earth's solar system. His face showed no emotion, but inside he felt a growing sense of dread. Something about this room felt wrong. The aliens were too quiet. They were too still. Laura cleared her throat and began to speak. Her voice was carried by invisible technology to every corner of the massive chamber, translated instantly into hundreds of languages. "Distinguished representatives of the Council of Sovereign Worlds," she said, "I come before you today on behalf of humanity. We are a young species. We have only traveled among the stars for a short time, but we believe we have something valuable to offer this great community." She paused, looking around at the assembled delegates. Most of them were impossible to read. Their faces, if they had faces, showed nothing she could understand. "We offer our creativity," Laura continued, "our ability to adapt and overcome challenges, our passion for discovery, and our deep desire for peace. We ask only for the chance to prove ourselves as worthy partners in the great work of galactic civilization." She had more to say. She had prepared a speech that would take 20 minutes, carefully crafted to address the concerns she knew some species had about humanity, but she never got the chance to deliver it. A tall figure rose from the delegation's platform. They were the most powerful species in the known galaxy, and their High Minister, Ox, was perhaps the most powerful individual in the entire universe. His body was made of flowing silver liquid that constantly shifted and reformed. His face had too many eyes, and all of them were now fixed on Laura. "The Council recognizes the delegation," said the automated voice of the chamber's moderator. Ox did not wait for further permission. "We have heard enough," he said. His voice was cold and smooth, like ice sliding over metal. "The humans speak of partnership, but their history tells a different story. They have spent their existence making war upon each other. They have destroyed their own world's environment. They are children who play with fire, and they wish to bring that fire to our stars." Laura opened her mouth to respond, but no sound came out. She looked down at the podium and realized that her microphone had been deactivated. She tapped it, but nothing happened. They had silenced her. In the gallery, Daniel's hands tightened into fists. "They cut her off," he whispered to Lieutenant Maria, who stood beside him. "They actually cut her off." Maria's face was pale. This was never a real hearing, was it? "No," Daniel replied. "It was always going to end this way." Ox continued speaking, his many eyes gleaming with something that might have been satisfaction. "I call for an immediate vote on the following motion. First, humanity's request for membership in the Council is. Second, humanity is to be classified as a restricted species. Third, humans will be confined to their own solar system until such time as they demonstrate the maturity required for interstellar civilization." The vote happened so fast that Laura could barely follow it. Holographic numbers appeared in the air above each delegation's platform. Yes or no, for or against. The tallies accumulated with terrible speed. When the final count appeared on the ceiling of the Great Hall, Laura felt her heart sink. 847 votes in favor of the motion, 12 against, 34 abstentions. It was not even close. She found her voice at last. even though no technology would carry it beyond her immediate surroundings. "You cannot do this," she said. "We have rights under the founding charter of this council." Ox's silver face formed something like a smile. "The charter applies to recognized civilizations," he said. "You are not recognized. You never were. You came here believing you had a chance, but the outcome was decided before you ever left your planet." Security drones descended from somewhere high above. They were sleek machines, shaped like teardrops, and they surrounded the human delegation without actually touching anyone. The message was clear: leave now or be removed. Daniel pushed through the crowd in the gallery and made his way down to Laura. When he reached her, she was being guided toward the exit by the hovering drones. "Ambassador," he said, falling into step beside her. Laura looked at him. Her eyes were dry, but he could see the pain behind them. "They never intended to listen, Daniel. Everything we did, all those years of preparation, it meant nothing to them." "What do we do now?" Laura was quiet for a moment. Then something changed in her expression. The pain was still there, but it was joined by something harder, something that looked almost like determination. "We go home," she said, "and then we show them what humanity does when we have no other choice." The human diplomatic ship left the station 3 hours later. As it pulled away from the massive structure, Communications Officer Park turned from his console with a troubled expression. "Ambassador, the quarantine order is being broadcast on every major frequency. They're calling it the Earth Containment Protocol. Every spacefaring species in the galaxy is being told to treat any human vessel outside our solar system as a criminal threat." Laura stood at the main, watching the stars. Those same stars that humanity had dreamed about for thousands of years. Those same stars that now represented a prison. "Let them broadcast whatever they want," she said quietly. "Let them think they have contained us. Let them believe that their silence will break our spirit." She turned to face her staff, and when she spoke again, her voice carried the weight of 8 billion people waiting back on Earth. "They made a mistake today. They showed us exactly what they think of us. They showed us that we will never be accepted, never be welcomed, never be treated as equals unless we force them to change their minds." Laura's hands tightened at her sides. "So that is exactly what we are going to do. It may take years, it may take decades, but one day we will return to that chamber. And when we do, they will listen. They will have no choice." The ship jumped to faster-than-light speed, carrying its passengers back toward Earth. Behind them, the Galactic Assembly continued its business, already forgetting about the primitive species they had just condemned to isolation. They had no idea what they had started. 5 years passed after the humiliation at Nexus Prime. 5 years of silence. 5 years during which the rest of the galaxy forgot about the primitive species trapped in their little corner of space. The alien powers assumed that humanity would slowly fade into irrelevance, too busy fighting among themselves to pose any real threat. They could not have been more wrong. Dr. Samuel Wright stood in the control room of Prometheus Station, the largest research facility humanity had ever built. It floated in orbit around Earth, a massive ring of metal and glass that represented the combined efforts of every nation on the planet. Before the quarantine, humans had been divided by borders and politics and old hatreds. After the quarantine, they discovered that having a common enemy was a powerful force for unity. Samuel was 53 years old, with gray hair and tired eyes. He had spent his entire adult life studying physics, developing theories that the rest of the scientific community considered crazy. When humanity first made contact with alien civilizations, Samuel had shared his ideas about faster-than-light travel with their scientists. They had laughed at him. They had called his theories the fantasies of a primitive mind. Now he was about to prove them all wrong. "The energy readings are stabilizing," reported Dr. Christina from her workstation. She was young, barely 30, but her mind was sharper than anyone Samuel had ever worked with. "We are approaching threshold power." Samuel nodded slowly. Hold at 90%. Run the simulation one more time. I want to be absolutely certain. Around them, dozens of technicians and scientists worked in focused silence. They all understood what was at stake. This was not just a scientific experiment. This was humanity's hope for freedom. The project had no official name, only a code designation. Blackbird. It represented 5 years of secret development, hidden from alien sensors by a combination of clever engineering and deliberate misdirection. The quarantine patrols watched Earth's solar system from the outside, but they had no idea what was happening within. 3,000 kilometers below, in an underground bunker beneath the Rocky Mountains, General Morgan reviewed the latest intelligence reports. She was 60 years old, a career military officer who had seen combat on 3 different moons before the quarantine ended all such operations. Now she commanded humanity's secret defense forces. "They are getting nervous," said Colonel Santos, her chief intelligence analyst. "Our sources inside the quarantine patrol network say they have increased their monitoring frequency by 40%. Leaned back in her chair. They sense something is happening, but they cannot see what. "No, ma'am. Our stealth technology is holding, but they know we are not just sitting here waiting to die." Allowed herself a small smile. "Good. Let them wonder, let them worry. When the time comes, we will give them something real to fear." The time came sooner than anyone expected. Commander Lisa was 42 years old, a former fighter pilot who had transitioned to test flights after the quarantine left military pilots with nothing to do. She had volunteered for the Blackbird program without hesitation, knowing that the test flights were extremely dangerous. The first 6 prototypes had all been destroyed, each failure teaching the scientists something new about the physics they were trying to master. Prototype 7 was different. Lisa could feel it in her bones as she settled into the cockpit. This ship was going to work. "Blackbird 7, you are cleared for departure," came Samuel's voice over the communication system. "Take your time. Follow the checklist exactly." "Copy that, Control." Lisa's hands moved across the console with practiced ease. "Beginning pre-flight sequence." The ship lifted off from the station's launch bay and moved into open space. Lisa watched Earth grow smaller in her rear display, a blue and green marble hanging in the darkness. She thought about everyone down there, everyone who was counting on this test to succeed. "Blackbird 7, begin power ramp when ready." Lisa took a deep breath. Starting power ramp, 20%. The ship began to vibrate, a strange harmonic tremor that seemed to resonate with her very bones. It was not unpleasant, just unusual. 40%, 60%. The vibration intensified. Through the cockpit window, the stars began to stretch into lines of light. Warning indicators flashed across her displays, but they were all within acceptable ranges. 80%, 90%. Lisa's heart was pounding now. This was further than any previous prototype had gone without exploding. "Blackbird 7, we are reading optimal field geometry. You are cleared for slip transition." Lisa's finger hovered over the final control. "Understood, Control. Engaging slip drive in 3, 2, 1." She pushed the button. For a fraction of a second, nothing happened. Then reality itself seemed to twist around her. The stars did not blur or streak past like in old science fiction stories. Instead, they simply rearranged themselves into completely new patterns. One moment she was looking at familiar constellations. The next moment, everything was different. Lisa checked her instruments 3 times before she believed what they were telling her. "Control, this is Blackbird 7. Her voice was shaking. "I am reading my position as approximately 4 light years from Sol. Transit time was 3.7 seconds. There was a long pause. When Samuel replied, his voice was thick with emotion. "Say again, Blackbird 7. Did you say 4 light years?" "Confirmed, Control. I can see on visual. It is right outside my window." The control room erupted in cheering so loud that Lisa could hear it through the communication link. She leaned back in her seat and stared at the alien sun burning in front of her. It was beautiful. It was impossible. It was real. "We did it," she whispered to herself. "We actually did it." 20 minutes later, Lisa slipped back into Earth's solar system with data that would change everything. Samuel's resonance slip technology was not just equal to alien faster-than-light systems. It was better, faster, more efficient, more versatile. General Morgan received the news in her underground bunker. She read the technical report twice before setting it down on her desk. "Get me a secure line to the Secretary General of the United Nations," she said, "and begin activation protocols for the fleet." Looked up sharply. "The fleet, ma'am, are we ready?" "We will be." Stood and walked to the wall display showing Earth's solar system. The invisible boundary of the quarantine zone surrounded it like a cage. The thought they could trap us here forever. They thought silence would break our spirit and isolation would destroy our unity. She turned to face her staff, her expression hard with determination. They were wrong. In 6 months, every combat-capable ship we have will be equipped with resonance slip drives. And then we are going to show the entire galaxy what happens when you try to cage a species that was born looking up at the stars. The preparations began that very day. Across Earth and throughout the solar system, shipyards worked around the clock. Scientists refined the technology while engineers installed it in vessel after vessel. The quarantine patrols continued their lazy orbits around the boundary, completely unaware of the storm that was building just beyond their sensors. 5 years of silence, 5 years of preparation, 5 years of patient, burning anger. The silence was about to end. Senior Observer had been watching the boundary around Earth's solar system for 3 years. It was boring work. Nothing ever happened. The primitive humans occasionally sent out scientific probes that were quickly intercepted and destroyed. Sometimes a smuggler would try to slip through the quarantine to trade with the trapped species. But mostly, there was nothing to do except stare at empty space and wait for his shift to end. That changed on an ordinary Tuesday morning. Was halfway through a cup of nutrient fluid when his console started screaming alarms. He nearly choked as he lurched toward his station, his silvery body rippling with sudden fear. "What is happening?" demanded his supervisor, appearing at his side within seconds. "Multiple contacts emerging from the Sol system," reported. His voice was trembling. "Count is 34 vessels and climbing. No, wait, 38, 42. That is impossible. The humans do not have faster-than-light capability. These readings suggest otherwise." Pulled up the sensor data on the main display. "They are not using any propulsion method in our database. It is something completely new, something we have never seen before." Aboard the flagship Constellation, Admiral Benjamin Turner watched the alien patrol station on his main. He was 61 years old, a career Navy officer who had spent the last 5 years preparing for this exact moment. His uniform was crisp. His posture was perfect. His heart was pounding with a mixture of fear and fierce pride. "All vessels report successful transition," announced Lieutenant Commander Reed from the tactical station. "Formation is holding steady." "Excellent." Benjamin opened a channel to the entire fleet. "This is Admiral Turner. Hold position and await further orders. Nobody fires unless fired upon. We are here to make a point, not to start a war." The 42 ships of the United Earth Expeditionary Fleet hung in space like a constellation of determined stars. They ranged from small, fast destroyers to the massive carrier Ascendant, which carried enough fighters to darken the sky of any planet. Every single one of them was equipped with the resonance slip drive that had made this moment possible. "Admiral, we are being hailed by the patrol station," reported Communications Officer Jennifer. "They are demanding that we identify ourselves and return to Sol space immediately." Benjamin straightened his uniform jacket. "Open a channel. Let us introduce ourselves properly." The shifted to show an observer. Its silver face was twisted into an expression of shock and disbelief. Its many eyes were wide open, all of them focused on Benjamin's calm face. "This is Admiral Benjamin Turner of the United Earth Fleet," he said. His voice was steady and clear. "We are conducting peaceful operations in open space. As we received no recognition from the Council of Sovereign Worlds, we do not acknowledge the legitimacy of the quarantine zone. Therefore, we are not in violation of any agreement that we were ever party to." The sputtered something in its native language before switching to the common galactic tongue. "You cannot do this. The Council will respond with overwhelming force. You will be destroyed." Benjamin leaned forward slightly, a ghost of a smile playing at his lips. "The Council is welcome to try, but I think they will find that humanity has changed quite a bit since they silenced our ambassador 5 years ago. We have had time to think, time to build, time to prepare." He paused, letting the words sink in. "Tell your superiors what you have seen here today. Tell them that Earth's silence is officially over. And tell them that the next time we come, it will not be just 42 ships." The channel closed. Benjamin turned to his tactical officer. "Take us to Phase 2. It is time to show the galaxy our cards." Over the next 12 hours, the human fleet performed a demonstration that sent shockwaves across the entire galaxy. They appeared at 17 different points along the quarantine boundary, each appearance carefully documented and broadcast on frequencies that every spacefaring species could receive. They showed off their ships. They showed off their speed. They showed off their ability to be anywhere and everywhere at once. And then they vanished back into Sol space, leaving behind nothing but confused sensor readings and terrified observers. On the alien information networks, the footage spread like wildfire. Analysts and experts from 1,000 different species studied the recordings, trying to understand what they were seeing. The consensus was disturbing. Humanity had not merely developed faster-than-light technology. They had developed something better than anything else in known space. Laura, now Secretary of Interstellar Affairs for the United Earth Government, watched the coverage from her office in Geneva. The large screen on her wall showed alien news broadcasts from dozens of different networks, all of them talking about the same thing: humanity, the quarantine, the impossible ships that had appeared out of nowhere. Her communication device chimed. "Madam Secretary, we are receiving a transmission from Nexus Prime. The Council of Sovereign Worlds is calling an emergency session. They want to know if we will send a representative." Laura smiled. It was not a kind smile. "Tell them we will send a representative when we are ready, on our schedule, not theirs. They silenced us once. They do not get to summon us like servants." She ended the call and turned back to the screen. An alien commentator was speaking rapidly, its translator struggling to keep up with its excitement. "The implications are staggering," the commentator was saying. "If the humans truly possess propulsion technology superior to our own, then the entire balance of power in the galaxy has shifted overnight. The quarantine is no longer enforceable. The containment strategy has failed." Laura nodded slowly to herself. Yes, she thought, it has failed, and now comes the hard part. Breaking the quarantine had been the easy part, relatively speaking. Building the ships, developing the technology, training the crews, all of that had been difficult but straightforward. The real challenge lay ahead. Humanity needed allies. They needed to break apart the coalition that had voted to imprison them. They needed to turn the galaxy's fear into respect. Her communication device chimed again. "Madam Secretary, Admiral Turner is on secure channel. He says the collective has reached out through back channels. They want to talk." Laura felt a spark of hope. They had been one of the 12 species that voted against the quarantine 5 years ago. They had always been unhappy under domination, forced to follow policies that benefited others at their expense. "Put him through," she said. Admiral Turner's face appeared on her personal screen. He looked tired but triumphant. "Madam Secretary, they are not the only ones. The free minds of and the Orbital Confederation of Yex have also made contact. They are interested in forming an alliance. Against the against anyone who thinks they can dictate terms to us ever again." Turner's expression was grim. "But we should not celebrate too early. They are mobilizing their fleet. Our intelligence suggests they are assembling at least 200 warships. They intend to crush us before we can grow any stronger." Laura nodded. She had expected this. They would not accept their loss of power quietly. They would fight to maintain their dominance, even if it meant war. "How long until they are ready to move?" she asked. "Our best estimate is 3 months, maybe 4. Laura was quiet for a moment, thinking. Then she spoke. "Then we have 3 months to prepare. 3 months to build more ships, develop new weapons, and strengthen our alliances. 3 months to show the galaxy that humanity is not just a threat to be eliminated, but a power to be reckoned with." She stood up and walked to her window, looking out at the night sky over Geneva. "They wanted us silent," she said quietly. "They wanted us forgotten. Instead, they created something far more dangerous. They created a humanity with nothing left to lose and everything to prove." Turner's voice came through the speaker. "What are your orders, Madam Secretary?" Laura turned back to face the screen. Her expression was calm, but her eyes burned with determination. "Prepare for war, Admiral, and make sure that when it comes, we are ready to win." The Council of Sovereign Worlds had not seen chaos like this in 300 years. The Great Assembly Hall on Nexus Prime, usually a place of dignified debate and careful diplomacy, had become a shouting match. Representatives from hundreds of species argued and threatened and pleaded, their voices mixing into a deafening roar that the automated moderator could not control. High Minister Ox sat at the center of the delegation, his silver body unusually still. His many eyes watched the chaos around him with cold calculation. This was not how things were supposed to go. The humans were supposed to accept their place. They were supposed to fade quietly into irrelevance. Instead, they had emerged from their prison with technology that made them look primitive. "Order," the moderator announced for the 6th time. "The council will come to order." Slowly, reluctantly, the noise died down. Ox rose to address the assembly, his form shifting and flowing as he moved. "5 years ago," he began, "this council made a decision to contain a dangerous species. That decision was correct then, and it remains correct now. What we see today, this flagrant violation of galactic law, only proves what we have always known. Humans cannot be trusted with the responsibilities of interstellar civilization." "The humans were never given a chance to prove otherwise," countered the ambassador. Her body was made of living crystal, and it pulsed with angry light as she spoke. "They were silenced before they could speak, imprisoned before they could act. Is it any wonder that they now respond with force?" "They threaten the stability of the entire quadrant," Ox replied coldly. "They threaten dominance. That is not the same thing." The words hung in the air like a challenge. They had been allies for 3 centuries, but that alliance had always been one of necessity rather than affection. They had been conquered long ago, their independence stripped away, their choices limited to cooperation or destruction. They had cooperated, but they had never forgotten. "They'll forget their place," Ox said, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. "They'll remember their history." The crystal ambassador's glow intensified. "We remember when they used these same tactics against our ancestors. We remember being called primitive and dangerous and unworthy of the stars. We remember being silenced, just as the humans were silenced." She paused, looking around the great hall at all the species watching this confrontation. "We choose to stand with humanity." The declaration sent shockwaves through the chamber. Murmurs became shouts. The delegation rose from their seats in anger, but before Ox could respond, another voice joined the fray. the free minds of stand with Earth as well. The ambassador was a being of pure thought, manifesting as a swirling cloud of blue energy. The humans have shown that progress cannot be contained by those who fear it. They have proven that the old order is not as stable as some would have us believe. One by one, other delegations began to speak. Some sided with citing the danger of encouraging primitive aggression. Others supported humanity, seeing a chance to reshape the galactic order that had dominated them for so long. The coalition that had voted to imprison Earth was fracturing before everyone's eyes. In a hidden observation post overlooking the assembly hall, a human operative recorded everything. Laura had sent her best intelligence agents to Nexus Prime, slipping them through the quarantine using the new resonance slip technology. The footage was transmitted back to Earth in real time, thanks to another of Dr. Samuel Wright's inventions, an instantaneous communication system that ignored the normal limits of space and time. "They are falling apart," the operative reported via encrypted channel. "They are losing control of the Council." Laura received the message in her Geneva office. She watched the chaos on her screen, seeing the alien delegates argue and threaten and break away from their old alliances. Part of her felt satisfaction at watching the empire that had silenced her begin to crumble, but another part felt concern. Desperate powers often did desperate things. Her concern was justified. 3 days later, intelligence reports confirmed that they were not waiting for political solutions. They were preparing for war. 217 warships, Colonel Santos reported from the command center beneath the Rocky Mountains. They are assembling at a forward base in the Cygnus sector. Our projections suggest they will be ready to move against Earth within 8 weeks. General Morgan studied the tactical display with grim concentration. "That is more than 5 times our current fleet strength." "Yes, ma'am. In a straight fight they would destroy us." Turned to the civilian in the room, Dr. Samuel Wright, who had been brought in for this briefing. "Tell me you have something that can help." Samuel nodded slowly. He looked even more tired than usual, his eyes red from lack of sleep. "I have been working on an extension of the resonance technology. The same principles that allow us to slip through space can be applied in other ways." He pulled up a technical diagram on the display. "This is a resonance inhibitor field. When activated, it prevents any faster-than-light travel within a given area. Ships caught inside the field cannot escape using their standard drives." His eyes widened. "You are talking about a trap." "I am talking about neutralizing their main advantage." Samuel pointed to the diagram. "They have more ships than us, but they rely on their speed to concentrate forces and overwhelm enemies. If they cannot run away and we can slip in and out of the field at will, then their numbers matter less." Considered this for a long moment. "How large an area can this field cover?" "Based on my calculations, approximately 3 billion cubic kilometers, large enough to contain their entire fleet if we position it correctly." "And how long to make it operational?" Samuel hesitated. 6 weeks, maybe 5 if we push hard." "We have 8 weeks until they are ready to move," allowed herself a small smile. "For once, time is on our side." The construction began immediately. On the far side of the solar system, away from any alien observation, human engineers built the largest machine their species had ever created. It was a ring of generators spanning thousands of kilometers, designed to create a resonance field powerful enough to trap an entire fleet. While the engineers worked, the diplomats continued their efforts. Laura reached out to every species that had shown sympathy for humanity's cause. She offered technology sharing, trade agreements, mutual defense pacts. Some species were too afraid of to commit, but others, emboldened by humanity's defiance, agreed to join the growing coalition. The Ascent ships, the Scent intelligence, the Yex sent supplies. Slowly the human fleet grew stronger. Admiral Benjamin Turner spent those weeks training his crews for the battle that was coming. He ran simulation after simulation, preparing for every possible scenario. He knew that humanity could not afford to lose this fight. If they crushed them now, there would be no second chance. "The inhibitor field will give us an advantage," he told his senior officers during one of their planning sessions. "But we will still be outnumbered. We need to be smarter, faster, and more determined than they are." Captain Lisa, now commanding her own destroyer, spoke up. "We have something they do not have, Admiral. We have nothing left to lose. They are fighting to maintain their power. We are fighting for our survival. That makes a difference." Turner nodded. "It does, but we cannot rely on determination alone. We need to execute perfectly. One mistake could cost us everything." The weeks passed. The inhibitor field was completed. The fleet was ready. And on the other side of the galaxy, the Armada began its final approach toward Earth. The moment of truth was at hand. The Armada dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of a nebula known as the Cygnus Gate. 217 warships, each one bristling with weapons that could crack planets open like eggs. It was the largest military force that had assembled in a century, and it was all pointed at one target: Earth. Fleet Commander X stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching his forces take formation. He was old his silver body moving more slowly than it once had, his many eyes dulled by years of service. He had fought in 3 wars and won all of them. He expected this one to be over quickly. "All ships report ready for the final jump," his tactical officer announced. "Good." X settled into his command chair. "Begin the countdown. In 6 hours we will be in Earth's solar system. In 7 hours the human threat will be eliminated forever." He never got the chance to give the order. The first warning came from his sensor officer, whose voice suddenly rose in panic. "Commander, I am detecting multiple contacts emerging from slip space, bearing directly ahead. Count is 53 vessels." X sat up straight. 53. The humans do not have 53 ships." "They are not all human, Commander. I am reading signatures. Signatures. Yex configurations. It appears the humans have found allies." Before X could respond, another alarm blared across the bridge. "Commander, our faster-than-light drives are going offline. Something is interfering with the field geometry. We cannot jump." X's silver face twisted with sudden understanding. It was a trap. The humans had lured them here to this specific location, and now they were stuck. Admiral Benjamin Turner watched the fleet from the bridge of his flagship, Constellation. The resonance inhibitor field had activated perfectly, trapping the enemy ships like fish in a net. They could still move on their conventional engines, but they could not escape. "Open a channel to all commanders," Benjamin ordered. His communication officer nodded. "Channel open, Admiral." Benjamin straightened in his chair and spoke clearly. "This is Admiral Benjamin Turner of the United Earth Fleet, speaking to all ships of the Armada. You are outmaneuvered and outmatched. Your vessels cannot retreat or advance. We have no desire for unnecessary bloodshed. Stand down your weapons and prepare to negotiate." The response came quickly. X's weathered face appeared his many eyes narrow with anger. "You expect us to surrender to primitives. I expect you to recognize reality." Benjamin's voice remained calm. "Your ships are trapped. Your reinforcements cannot reach you because they do not know where you are. And every minute you delay, more of my vessels slip into position around your formation." As if to demonstrate his point, 3 more human destroyers materialized out of slip space, taking positions behind the fleet. The alien sensors went wild trying to track them. "This does not have to end in violence," Benjamin continued. "Let us find a better way." The silence stretched for long seconds. X's face showed the struggle happening inside him. Pride demanded that he fight. Experience told him that fighting would be suicide. His ships could not escape, could not call for help, could not even know where the enemy would appear next. Finally, the old commander spoke. His voice was heavy with something that might have been respect. The Second Fleet stands down. We will negotiate. Across the human fleet, crews erupted in celebration. But Admiral Turner did not join them. He understood that this was only the beginning. Winning a battle was not the same as winning a war, and winning a war was not the same as winning the peace. 1 month later, Laura returned to Nexus Prime. The journey that had once taken weeks now required mere seconds. The Resonance slip drive carrying her delegation across the light years as easily as walking through a door. The Galactic Assembly Hall looked the same as it had 5 years ago. The same crystal pillars, the same floating platforms, the same alien faces watching from their elevated seats, but everything else had changed. The delegation still sat in their accustomed place, but their arrogance had been replaced by careful calculation. They had lost their fleet without a single shot being fired. They had lost their reputation as the dominant power in the galaxy, and they had lost the coalition that had supported them for centuries. Laura walked to the central podium. This time, her microphone worked perfectly. "Distinguished representatives," she began. "5 years ago, I stood in this place and asked for partnership. I was silenced before I could finish speaking. Today, I return not to ask but to offer." She paused, letting the words echo through the massive chamber. "Humanity has proven that we cannot be contained. We have demonstrated technology that surpasses anything in your databases. We have built alliances with species who share our belief that the galaxy should be governed by cooperation, not domination. We could use these advantages to conquer, to impose our will on the galaxy as some of you once tried to impose your will on us." The chamber was utterly silent. Every eye, sensor, and perception organ was focused on the human woman at the center of the room. But that is not who we are. We were not raised in easy times. We were shaped by struggle, by competition, by the constant need to overcome obstacles. We learned, sometimes painfully, that cooperation achieves what conflict cannot. Laura looked directly at the High Minister. Ox sat motionless, his silver face unreadable. "We offer the resonance technology to all who wish to share in its benefits. We offer alliance to those who seek partners rather than subjects. And to those who still see us as a threat to be contained, we offer a simple truth." Laura's voice grew stronger. "The era of isolation is over. The stars belong to all who have the courage to reach for them." She stepped back from the podium and waited. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the ambassador began to applaud, her crystal hands producing a sound like beautiful bells. The delegation joined in with a harmonic humming. Species after species added their voices, until the hall filled with a symphony of sounds united in a single message. Approval, acceptance, hope. Even the could not ignore the tide of opinion. Ox rose slowly, his form shifting with reluctant acknowledgement. "Recognize the changed circumstances," he said carefully. "We will consider Earth's proposals with appropriate attention." It was not full acceptance, not yet, but it was a beginning. 6 months later, the first joint exploration fleet launched from Nexus Prime. Human vessels flew alongside ships from a dozen different species, their combined crews representing the largest cooperative venture in galactic history. They were heading toward the unknown reaches of space, searching for new worlds, new civilizations, new possibilities. Admiral Turner commanded the flagship, now renamed Unity. Captain Lisa served as his second in command. Dr. Samuel Wright worked in the science section, still pushing the boundaries of what resonance technology could achieve. And in the communications center, Laura prepared a message for whatever civilizations they might encounter in the depths of space. "This is the United Earth Vessel Unity, speaking on behalf of the Coalition of Free Worlds. We come in peace, seeking knowledge, friendship, and understanding. If you can hear this message, know that you are not alone. The stars have many voices, and we wish to hear yours." She ended the transmission and walked to the observation deck. Through the massive windows, she could see the stars stretching to infinity. 5 years ago, those stars had represented a prison. Now they represented possibility. Daniel Hayes, now a rear admiral himself, joined her at the window. He had been with her at the beginning, standing in that observation gallery when the council voted to silence humanity. Now he stood with her at the beginning of something new. "Do you think they understand yet?" he asked. "Thee and the others who voted against us, do you think they understand what they did?" Laura considered the question. They thought they were protecting themselves from a primitive threat. They thought silence would break us. Instead, they gave us a reason to unite. They gave us a common purpose that we never had before. They made us stronger. She turned to face him, and there was a smile on her lips. They silenced Earth at the council. Now our response resounds across the stars, and it will keep resounding long after we are gone. That is what they do not understand yet. Humanity does not give up. Humanity does not stay silent. When you push us down, we rise. When you build walls around us, we find ways through. When you tell us something is impossible, we prove you wrong. The ship slipped into faster-than-light travel, carrying its crew toward adventures that no one could predict. Behind them, the old order continued to crumble, replaced by something new and uncertain and full of potential. The universe would never be the same. And humanity was just getting started.